if you look at it, we've seen examples from retail, banking, and internal processes of an organization, like hiring, CV filtering, performance appraisals. And these are just few of the examples we have seen. The whole AI, number crunching, data crunching, and decisions being based on those things, it's only increasing in every sphere of business and even people's individual lives. Uh, we may not realize it, but AI is also sometimes responsible for what we see as entertainment. We may not know, but the algorithms of Netflix, Amazon Prime decide what they show us on the screen, and from which we select something which we would see. Unless we have gone in specifically with the intent of, I want to see this particular series or episode, we go often with exploration that, okay, let me see what's there on the app and I'll pick one. And what we are and what each one of us sees is very, very different. And there is AI behind it. There's a lot of analytics behind it. So our life is being governed by AI in some way. So with all these things happening, I want to focus the attention on the business, on the organizations. What are the challenges all these organizations are going to face or are facing even right now, as more and more decisions are being kind of put on AI or data analytics? As more and more decisions happen with AI and data analytics, what happens to the human element, the decision makers as well as those who are at the receiving end of it? So, what are those challenges coming up? Would like to hear from our panelists once again. Hariom, over to you.
Yeah, Hemant. So it is a very critical point that you pointed out, which means that what is the human element in terms of understanding that, for example, from a point of view of a decision maker, uh, the challenge is to determine whether the decision that he's taking, is it based upon correct data, or is it based upon, or is it biased towards some of the opinions, right? So because we already know from that perspective that these systems, they depend upon certain element of that is dependent upon human input to that particular process itself. So from a data point of view, there are large organizations which are working on the backend data itself. So from a decision maker point of view, it is very important to understand that whatever output that he's seeing in front of himself as a result of these AI algorithms, it should not be biased. If it is biased, then it will create a decision which might affect the overall organization in itself. And when I talk about another element, that is to the ignorance that it comes that decision making process generates towards the human experience. Sometimes we, as a decision making authority, we can overlook some of the important points that are mentioned by very relevant people in the organization when they talk from their own experience. So leaning too much towards these systems, since they are just starting to grow and mature, but leaning too much towards those systems and relying very heavily on them can generate this averseness within the organization that experience is not being valued. So that is something that the organizations need to address. One is not to have a bias, because they need to understand that data is generated or built by human beings at the back end. At the same times, avoid this averseness within the organization, which is created because of these algorithms coming into picture, these systems coming into picture.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great points. So I think as more and more decisions get taken by uh, data, by AI, by machines, as we might want to call it in fancy terms, but there will be people who will be happy with those decision making, and there will always be some victims of the decision making who won't like it, and for want of a better choice, they'll just blame it on a faulty algorithm or the machines for making wrong decisions. And they would, of course, have their opinion about it. And that is going to happen. We see that even today, even in terms of adoption of AI, we see a lot of conversation where some people who are getting the benefit of using the AI, they are completely gung ho about the fantastic abilities of the AI tools. Whereas you will also find people in the room who will say, "Oh no, not that great. It's not accurate. But AI is not supposed to be accurate at this point in time when the work has just begun. We are a long way to go. Videos were very botchy a few months ago, but now the kind of videos being created by AI are like super fine, smooth, and almost very difficult to say that it is generated by AI. So, moving on to Newton, how about your perspective on the challenges?
Yeah. So, if I was to simply put it in a short and sweet way, I'll say that the AI use of AI is actually putting logic behind the madness. So when I look at portfolio management as an example in itself, there is huge data which is there. So considering the fact, if you look at uh, pre-AI tool, there used to be manual analysis. So as a portfolio manager, the limited data would be limited and the information would be analyzed on a limited data. Today, the characteristics is voluminous size of data, which has, and the AI tools have actually improved the decision making. Again, not just improve, they are actually aiding quick decision making. So imagine the huge data at your fingertips, converting and getting insights, giving you what kind of portfolio management needs to be done for the investor. You suggest the investor and they take the decision. Now, the other element is where the element of error used to happen. So by the time your decision could be the market has moved on, you need to pull out your information. Again, the same quick decision making is going to help them to quickly convert your decision, correct it, and bring it back to the track. So I think this is a very good cycle. So that's why I say it's like putting logic into the madness that's happening around with so many elements across. Here there is I mean, so I feel all these things have only aided where the investment advice has shifted to from generalized to specialized. There is one more element, and when I look from an organization point of view, and which is something which I felt very relevant in today's context, is the sustainability and the ESG investing. Today, a lot of people feel and realize the importance of sustainability as an organization, the need to work on it. So today, even the investors are informed. So when they are looking for a portfolio management kind of thing, they would want to work on this. I think with the ESG considerations and the data analytics, with the vast amount of data, ESG related data is can be identified, invested for sustainable food. So I think this is one unique thing which I realized is something that the organization certainly can benefit and match to the individual goals per se. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think you've hit the right spot that it is going to be a very fine balancing game where the benefits as well as the challenges will have to be brought together, balanced out, and to see what is going to work, what is not going to work. At times, also looking at what will be acceptable and not acceptable. There might be some great decision making which could be done with AI, but if people are not going to accept those decisions, then you might have to consider keeping either the AI in the background or not bringing it to the fore at all. Because at the end of the day, the decisions are, I mean, AI is for the humans and not the other way around. Great. So, with that, let me move the mic towards Srinath, your perspective on the challenges.
Yes, Nigel. Okay, so I believe change is the only one that's inevitable. And with any change comes the aspect of making the mindset shift. And any change for that matter is messier in the beginning, chaotic in the middle, and wonderful at the end. The same applies for AI as well, right? When we are talking about some of these challenges on the AI, it all depends on what goes in is what comes out. So if the decisions are going to be basis the data that is going to be fed in by the organization, the key challenge is talking about the data that goes into it. If the data is not of a good quality, the decision that gets made is not also going to be a good quality. So I believe if the decisions have to be right and it has to be fruitful both for the organization and the individuals who are going to be impacted positively or otherwise because of those decisions, it depends on the quality of data and how the organization uses the AI tools to be able to make a meaningful effort to find the right level of information and make that process and make the possibility of finding the right solutions that will work for the betterment of people. In a way, like what Hariom and Newton said, it is all about predictions. While the prediction alone is not going to help, a decision making that's mixed with a human involvement is what is going to make the magic in terms of applying some human thought and not just blindly going with what human being or what the AI will say is going to make a lot more sense given the current scheme of things at which it's moving. I don't think we are there yet in terms of blindly going with what the AI says, but I believe it's the time. We are still transitioning. We are the successful lot of the bunch who are transitioning through a lot of these changes that are happening in this time, where we are experiencing this transitional shift from a completely data-based decision to an AI-driven decision, which is at least backed by the data. So it is important for us to be mindful and embrace the change and see what we can do about it. Not all decisions are right, but at the same time, if we are mindful of what is the decision that's coming up and be prepared to face it, then the impact could be lesser. If we are not prepared, it can come and hit us hard, which could be detrimental to us as well. So I believe it's important for us to embrace AI, take it with a pinch of salt, apply a little bit of a human thought as well on the final words of what has to be said, and then make the decisions which could make a meaningful aspect of that. That's how I see it.
Fantastic. Absolutely. So, very rightly put, I would say that the decision making, AI and all the data analytical tools, etc., they are a great help to the decision making process, but we are still a far distance away from relying completely on the algorithms and the machines and the AI to take the decisions for us. We may have given it some basic ones, but when it comes to the people side of decision making, any decision that is going to directly impact people around, we still want to have that human interface there, or at least a final authority who will look at the data generated or the information generated by the AI, the decision suggested by the AI, and then take a call. Whether we will reach there sooner or later in terms of the AI taking the final decision, time will tell. We hear about a few organizations who are experimenting with appointing an AI CEO. Seems a good, catchy news, but I'm personally wondering if there is a person operating an AI, because of all the AI instances that we have visibility of, at least there is always somebody who's prompting the AI to give some decisions with some input data or a specific question. And we all know the power of the right questions. You ask a wrong question, you get a very weird answer. Asking the right question is equally important. Well, before we move on to our next segment, I would just give a quick shout out to all the individuals who have joined us as the audience today for the uh, panel discussion, and also all those individuals who are watching this as a recording on YouTube or any other channel like LinkedIn or our social channels. Thank you very much for joining the conversation. I'm sure what we discuss here today, that as well as the topic and the trigger conversations will act as a nice conversation for you from the audience members to pick up a conversation at your office, at work, with your friends. uh, these conversations, these stimulated brainstorming sessions are great, and they should be, I would always encourage them, because they will create a curiosity, and that will help you explore these conversations further. Because frankly speaking, these are the future of work. As a small token of thank you to the audience, I would like to share something. As a coach, all I can give is my valuable time. So here is me offering a 20 minutes of clarity, a laser sharp coaching session, absolutely free. 20-minute session where we focus on one thing, one issue, one thing that you are stuck at in life, one problem statement, one anything. So leave it to you. Decide what is that one thing. In this session, There will be no introduction. There's no pitching happening. We just focus on the problem at hand, and the conversation will be all around it. So 20 minutes to that. There's a link on the screen as well as a QR code. You can scan that, and the link I'll be sharing that in the chat also in a few minutes, so you could note from there. And let's get back to the conversation.